Welcome to the Business and Marketing Podcast That Makes Sense, the podcast dedicated to helping owners and founders gain clarity, untangle complexity, and eliminate the guesswork in running their business.
In each episode, we'll dive into business messaging and methods, clearing the unclear and turning confusion into specific, actionable solutions. We'll tackle and make sense of the challenges we all face, offering insights and strategies from right alongside you.
Our goal is to empower you to be the sense maker, giving you the tools to accelerate your business with clarity and confidence. So I'm really excited about this episode. I don't know about you. It's the last one in our first season. I think that's an achievement in itself.
Yeah, and we're still talking to each other.
In fact, actually, we're talking to each other better. We seem to have made sense. Yeah. We've made sense off the back of this.
We've cancelled ourselves.
Yeah, so we know this works.
If anyone's got any doubts, Brad and I understand each other after 40 years.
Oh, it's been really good, and I think what I'm looking forward to here is kind of just I'll share my thoughts with you.
Okay.
Sort of my openers, and then I'll see what you think, see if you want to add anything, see if you disagree, and we'll go from there. So today we're talking about this idea that the sense maker has the power. It's the bringing together of all of our other conversations so far. And for me, the questions I would love to answer in this conversation is, what does that mean? What does the sense maker having the power mean? And then who or what is the sense maker in my business? How can I know what that is? What's the direction I'm looking in there? And then is it actually possible to become the sense maker in my own business?
Yeah, these are interesting questions. And I think I have something similar in my mind, just kind of reflecting on conversations that we've had over the last few weeks on the podcast, which has been really insightful. And I've learned a lot as we've made sense of what we make sense of. And I think that the conversation would do well to start with our recent experience of us sense-making each other and getting into a rather difficult position where we ground to a halt and couldn't talk to each other anymore because we both out-sense-made what the other sense-maker was trying to sense-make.
I mean, that sounds bad. Not talk to each other anymore. It wasn't no animosity.
No. We still love each other, and when we talk about chocolate and beer, we fine. It's just when it came to work was a problem. No, I'm joking. That was rubbish. The point of the fact is that Brad has got his way of approaching life, living, thinking, whatever. You've got a makeup the way you are. I'm made up the way I am, and I think one of the things that's come out of the learning that we've been doing in SenseMaker, as we've made sense and developed what we're doing, is that part of the sense-making process when I'm working in a team is to know how the other people around me are thinking and what makes them tick. And I think just as a precursor to the answering your question, from my perspective, I think it's important that people know that we're all going to see it from a different angle, and we've got to allow for that, because I think we start with the premise that I'm right. Not that I'm right per se, but my method or my way or my approach or my thinking is correct.
And I think that stems from this idea, like we're in a closed environment in our own minds. We're in this sort of closed, sterile environment in a way where we don't realize that the way we see the world and the way that we think isn't how everybody else sees the world and thinks, right?
Yes.
We might be sort of aware of this on a surface level, but in the context of solving a problem, especially when it's under pressure, that goes out the window, and we resort to our way of doing things. And when it doesn't look like other people, when other people don't do something in the way that we think it should be done, we start to get this sort of like, well, what's going on here? That it must be wrong. Let me try and show them how I think this should be done, like we were doing, and we were going in circles.
Yeah, we were. And I think understanding our makeup and understanding our personalities and how we approach problems was a profound breakthrough, and it sounds stupid. We've been working together for 20 years, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But all the way along, we've had this like undercurrent of misunderstanding, which has been profound. And I think the first thing I'd say about who is the sense maker is that sense making by its nature is a communal exercise.
Yes.
It happens in community. Why is that? Because for me to make sense on my own means that I'm only going to get 1/4 of the picture.
One sense.
1 sense, yeah. And if I wasn't making sense at all, I'd have none sense.
This is it.
This is so profound.
I know,
People
Brad.
pass good money for this kind of insight, Brad.
You guys are in for a treat today.
Yeah, so I need Brad because he makes up for what I don't have in my makeup, and vice versa, and the other personalities and styles that we need to. So we need Lauren because she brings something to the table that we don't have, and we need Sue, and we need Rasheen because each one of these people bring something to the table that we lack, and we poorer for it if we don't include them in the sense-making process. So that's one of the thoughts that I had, is that sense-making actually happens in community.
Yeah, and I think I want to zoom out actually even a bit further from that. And I think for me, I would want to start at the top. When I think about this idea of the sense maker has the power, the context that I want to be thinking about it in, because I think it makes it easier to accept these things that we're talking about, because it can be challenging to let a part of something that you believe is yourself and important to you, and a place maybe even where your value comes from as an individual, to let go of the reins a little bit on that, to allow the expertise or the gifts or the natural talents, the zones of genius of others to actually empower what we're doing. It can feel like it's doing the opposite to start with, but actually it makes us better. And so I find it easier if I give myself the context of this idea again that we've been talking about. Why am I doing this? What is my reason for starting? And so I think that I like to anchor my thinking in that, right? Like zoom out, Brad. What is my reason for starting? And I think a lot of people, when you ask that question, a lot of people tend to jump straight to what they think they should be saying. So they'll give a revenue goal or something that's kind of quite detached, actually. But that the truth is they want that thing so that they can do the thing that they really want. And so I like to look beyond that and say, from our emotional center, what is it that's driving me to do each day? And how important is it for me to get there? If it's very important, can I let go of the reins a little bit here and allow other people to push me and take me forward? And then once I see what the outworking of their input looks like, engage my unique abilities to add value again to that in, like we say, this iterative fashion.
Yeah. And that's the spiral. And it's identify, clarify, learn, apply. And we're doing that all the time. And it's like, I watched this final the other night on TV of some 4x1500 meter women's race at some big competition. 4x15. What do they call this thing? That race where you hand the stick to each other and run like blazes?
Relay
race. That's right. Relay race. Anyway, 4x1500 relay race. And you see these athletes just doing the most incredible things in terms of speed, and they absolutely trashed the world record. It was amazing. But they each the strategy that went into the composition of the team was profound. I'd never thought of it like that. And the commentators were just talking about how they placed based on their different styles and their different approaches and their different strengths in their place in the team, so that they had the baton at the right time in the race to be able to contribute to an overall win. And as our understanding of sense making grows, we become more and more aware that it's not one person has the power. It's not one person that is running everything in that sense.
And
but
the not one person that is right or wrong.
Yes. The more we can get the community to work together because we understand each other, the more powerful our ability to make sense of what's going on around us becomes.
Yeah.
There's proper exciting stuff, Brad.
It is the whole idea of perspectives, leveraging different perspectives, the different individuals, and it's where the real creativity comes from. We've experienced so many times that energized feeling where you'll have an idea, I'll build on that idea, you'll build on that idea. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
in some ways, what we're talking about at the start of this is the what, I don't know what the right word is, but I guess the sort of limiting or inhibiting side of not getting this right, which was us locking each other out,
Yes.
neutralizing each other's ability. But the
Yeah.
flip side of that coin is that sort of flywheel that happens in ideation or in innovation
Yeah.
when we get it right. And
Yeah.
that is where we get to that place, I think, that you refer to as the adjacent possible, when new things,
Yes.
you're putting together these new ideas, international travel between different industries, and you're saying, okay, well, this is how those guys do it. Maybe I can apply that to my industry, and that's a completely new thing for my industry.
Yeah.
And this whole new world of possibilities opens up because you've got your trusted people around you, and you're
Yes.
taking turns to stand on each other's shoulders and look over the wall and see what's there, and then say, hold on, I can see this, let's try these
Yes.
things.
Exactly. And I think the when I was thinking about this morning, the kind of the subject that I was trying to identify the subject. I know we titled the podcast "The SenseMaker Has the Power," and that's what we wanted to think about. But when I was giving thought to what the subject actually was about, I concluded that for me, the subject is, when I'm talking about sense making, is about the location of power in an organization. The location of power in an organization. So the question is, when I look at the organization, where is the real seat of its power and who is sitting on it?
Mm,
And that, even in the writing of the question, I was thinking, even that implies that there's one person who's got the power and is making sense, but that's a dictatorship.
yeah,
That's not a community. That's not a combine. It's a dictatorship, and you got the power of one.
right.
And what we're talking about here in this world is that you and I, getting our heads around this principle, took us from the power of multiplication to the power of exponential explosion.
But I think it's layered though, isn't it? Because yes, we want that sense of community, but ultimately, as a founder or a business owner, you want the business to get to a certain place, right? That's
Yes.
to help you get to your reason for starting, your dream, your
Yeah.
desire. And so there has to be some level of hierarchy. It can't be completely flat. But ultimately, I think leveraging the unique abilities and perspectives of the people around you is perfect. But you have to still be in the driving seat. You can't abdicate.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting for a moment that somebody should abdicate. Well, what I am saying is that I need to let go. So I've worked in situations before where that same roundabout that you and I got onto, where we were trying to find the breakthrough,
Mm,
happens to me in the consultancy, where I'll say to people, this is how I think we can break this problem. Then they'll say to me, okay, let me take that away and I'll think about it.
mm.
And they take it away and they bring back something completely different to what I was suggesting, because they made their sense of it. And we get hung up on this thing. I think we get hung up on the idea of me, I'm the leader of the organization, as opposed to I'm the conductor of an orchestra.
Yeah. And so
And
the
if I
sort
can
of
get all the instruments in the orchestra to play their part in the correct time and the correct timing, I'm going to get some beautiful music out of the orchestra.
versus the opposite of that, which is I need to look like I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
which
And
is a
that leads
focus
us
on
to,
self.
sorry,
Yeah.
carry on.
No, I was going to say it's a focus on self, isn't it? In that
Yeah.
case, I need to look like I know what I'm doing
Yeah.
versus I need to get this orchestra to play the best symphony type sound and work together in the best way that I can. That's
Exactly. You know
interesting.
what comes to mind?
Go for it.
Asterix.
Okay.
Asterix and Obelix. Remember
Right.
Asterix and Obelix?
I do not as well as you, though.
Easy, Tucker. Just lucky. Oh man, hang on a minute. Let me gather my thoughts. Oh yeah, Asterix and Obelix. Thing about Asterix and Obelix, there was a character in Asterix and Obelix called Cacophonix,
Right.
and he was the musician.
Makes sense.
Cacophonix.
Yeah.
His name says it all, right? So I'm going to get Cacophonix comes out of this kind of single-minded leadership where I've got to control everything and I've got to make sure it's all my way and that I'm right. We wouldn't be where we are today if I'd had that approach with you.
Mm.
I knew you'd take me to places that I wouldn't have gone to on my own. And I knew that once you got us there, I would keep us there.
Mm.
And together we'd consolidate that base, get a common understanding, and then go around the spiral again. So, yeah, I think it is. It's like, as a leader, I'm a conductor of an orchestra that's trying to make music together. And I'm either going to get a symphony
Yeah.
or cacophony.
But at the same time, I need to, as the conductor, I need to be fully aware of the piece that we're playing, the music in front of me.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't mean that I need to know how to do each bit, but I need to know what's coming. And I think about it like this, right? If I need to get somewhere, I can drive myself or I can let someone else drive me. Neither of them is right, neither of them is wrong, right?
Yes.
But if I let someone else drive me and I pay no attention to the best route of getting there, what I think is the best route, if I have no idea, if I've not made any sense at all, right? I become subject to that person's whims, beliefs, fears, ideologies. And so they're going to be making choices and taking routes and directions that aren't actually the best way because I don't have a broad overview of at least
Yes.
where we're going and what we're trying to do and what they should be doing for me. And so I think in that sense, we need to know what the piece of music is.
Yes. Exactly. And that's what business clarifier is about.
Mm.
That's what marketing, message clarifier is about. That's what the whole team idea that we're bringing in now is about. It's about A, getting to know the players in our orchestra, B, getting to know the mechanics of the orchestra, and C, getting confident on the message or the direction in which you're going. And if we're all on song, we're going to get a beautiful piece of music to play. And that's what we're experiencing in SenseMaker right now, is that sense of coming together and increased understanding and growth. And so for me, I'll come back to this idea that sense making actually is a community affair. And it's a community pastime. There is a conductor in the orchestra who's got the final say, who says we're going to go down this road or we're not going to go down this road. So absolutely agree with you. This is delegation. It's not abdication. But at the same time, it's progression, not perfection. Yeah. And what we want to do is give everybody the opportunity in the team that are making sense to play their part at the right time and then to yield the floor to the next gift that comes in to play their part, who then yield and let the next gift come in and play their part, so that as we identify our unique abilities and our unique genius and get to know that in each other, we can allow each other to play our best game and empower that best game to happen.
And what's interesting is that you might have a conductor who's less experienced that comes up to the conductor that's conducting this orchestra that we're talking about, right? Doing a fantastic job. And this less experienced conductor comes up and says to this guy who's doing a fantastic job, he says, can you show me or tell me how to do what you're doing? I want to do it like you're doing it. I can see that you're getting a great result. And the conductor who's experienced says, just do these things. Just take this piece of music and conduct your orchestra. That's, for me, is what it can be like when this idea of coaches and consultants, nothing wrong with coaches and consultants, but I think for me there's an order here that happens, because yes, you can give the person the piece of music and say just do that, right? But what's instinctive,
it's not rocket science.
Yeah, and what's instinctive to the successful conductor is not going to be instinctive necessarily to the guy who's trying his best and wanting to get to a different level. And so here, just take that piece of music and do it. Like, just do this is not helpful. And forcing a framework over a situation that you don't understand is not helpful. And for me, it comes back to this the story that you told, I think, way back at the start about your ultramarathon journey, where you were at the end and you saw the 5 kilometer line, the Coca-Cola banner 5 kilometer line, and you kind of were like, yeah, I can do this. I can get to the end before the cutoff. And then you saw the official marker and it broke you. And that guy came alongside you, and long story short, again, if you want to hear it, you can go back to the start, but started getting you to walk 50 paces and then run 50 paces.
Yeah.
And I think, that's such a big difference, having someone that just says, here, let's shoehorn your problem into this solution, versus
Yes.
stand next to me and learn by osmosis.
Yeah. Come run with me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so come stand next to me whilst I conduct this orchestra and practice with me.
Yeah.
And I'll show you what I'm doing, and then I'll watch what you're doing, and I'll say, hold on,
Yeah.
why don't we try this?
And if you think about it, that's how our relationship has developed over the years. You've watched what I've done, and you've gone away and you've tried to make sense of it from your perspective. And then we've come together and worked it through again and got it, developed it a bit further and iterated it some more. And slowly this gift of sense making was transferred to you.
Yeah.
So that in your field of expertise with your particular genius, what I knew and was doing instinctively and increasingly doing deliberately, as I grew, was passed on to you by osmosis, as you say. And I think that's where that whole picture of the master craftsman with his apprentice, and the apprentice just working with the master craftsman for a good number of years, learning the trade, learning the skill, comes into it. And that's a really powerful way of doing it. I remember working with Mike Mashett in Pretoria, and he said to me one day, you're going to learn from me, but not by me lecturing you, by osmosis. Just by you being in the same room as me, by you sitting in the same meetings as me, by you watching me work, you're going to learn and you're going to change. And I want you to expect that. And I think that's a powerful, powerful place to be.
Well, because you own it, right? And we were talking about this in previous episodes. That's why it's so, I get so excited. Maybe I'm just nerding out on this, but I get so excited by it because you internalize the new knowledge. You own the understanding behind the why of doing something.
Yes.
And so to sit and to watch and to learn and to practice with somebody, like you say, our relationship is proof that this works. We've, on several occasions in different places, I've had people say to me, and I don't know if you were there in these, but you might have been, say to me, oh, because they know they've known you and have worked with you. And then I started helping them with something, and they say, oh, you've got the sense making gift. You've got the sense making gene. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's how it looks on the outside, but what I've actually got is an ability to observe and to watch and to say, okay, this is what Dario is doing now. That's interesting. I wonder why he's done that. I wonder why he didn't do this. Let me try that. Okay, let me try this. That thing that he did worked better than this. I understand why he's doing this. I'll keep doing this, right? And building this picture. And like you say, it has been learned. And that's really struck me when you said that, actually. I hadn't thought of it like that before.
Yeah. Well, it also, as you were talking, brought to mind an occasion when I'd made a speech to a large group of people, and a young fella came up, a young buck came up to me, and who'd never made a speech in his life, bar one or two, and I was doing it for my living, and he came up to me afterwards and said, "That was a really good speech you made there, Dario." I said to him, "Thanks very much." He said, "Do you mind if I just give you one or two pointers on how you could maybe do it better next time?" And I looked at him and I just thought, yeah, I know if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to think proud, arrogant, Dario,
Yeah.
But in a way, it was like I was taken aback by that. I didn't expect it.
Right.
Because, I mean, I let him give me his feedback.
Because there might have been some gold in there, right?
There might have been some gold in that. But the spirit within which it was given didn't make it any easier to receive.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't that sense of working together. It was he positioned himself in his mind as my superior,
Yeah.
and he was coming to give me some tips on how I could improve.
Yeah.
And that's different to what you're describing,
Yeah.
where there's a working together and there's a learning that happens together. So I've learned as much from this exercise between you and I as you have, if not
Mm,
more, right?
mm.
But that's because we both had the mindset to learn from each other.
Yeah.
And one of us didn't see the other as lesser,
Yeah.
but we saw the other as an equal contributor and somebody from whom I could learn. And that's how I see all my clients, everyone I work
Yes.
with, everything I do
100%.
is looking for those learning opportunities, right?
Yeah. And I think something that's important to remember though, and this is where maybe it can feel, I don't think it is, but it can feel like it gets more complicated, is that if I'm not making all of or not making the sense in my business, it might not necessarily be another person that is. It might be a thing, right?
Or a
It might be a,
circumstance.
yeah, we might be allowing a circumstance or a force, an external force. So in my world with the marketing stuff, I see so often people allowing the external forces of the voices of the broader world who say you need to do these things to market. If you're not doing these things, you're not marketing, right? So you have to do SEO, you have to write this content, you have to do paid search, you have to do all of these things on all of these platforms. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your marketing. And
Yeah.
because so many of the business owners I see don't even realize that they should be asking the questions of, is that accurate? They
Yeah.
just assume, well, if everybody's doing it, that must be what I need to do. And so we start being drawn down this direction and we start trying to broadcast our message before we've clarified our message.
Yeah.
And it just becomes noise. And so it's
Yes.
not always a person. Sometimes it's a thing that starts
Yes.
directing our business. And
Yes.
we need to be looking for that.
Exactly. And that's what we mean when we say the sense maker's got the power.
Yes.
Because the situation you just described is that well, of a mindset and an approach that is accepted as the norm.
Mm.
And many people have given that mindset and that approach the power over the actions that they're taking.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, now hang on a minute, let me ask some better questions. Let me
Yeah.
dig deep here and let me find out. And so you and I have
Exactly.
had some like deeply frustrating,
Mm.
searching debates where neither of us had the answer.
Yeah.
But we kept going and going and going. I mean, how many years has it taken for us to get a website that makes sense to us? And
Yeah.
it's taken years of doing it again and again and again and again, trying to make sense.
But that's the
And
thing. That's we understand how challenging it can be. You know,
yeah,
we're not saying that boom, it's easy. We're not saying here's the door to the shortcut. We're saying here's the door to the long cut. It's the shortcut to
yeah,
the long cut, as you've said to me before. And it's about that marathon mindset. We keep coming back to it, and it's why it's so integral to our anecdotes and analogies is because it fits so well. It's the marathon mindset. I'm going to do something in a completely different way if I know that I'm going in it for the long haul. If I'm going in
yeah.
it for a quick result or a quick
Quick fix.
fix, then I'm never going to have the stamina. So it's interesting. I was observing this the other day. When I go for a 10K run, right? I do a 10K run and it's fine. And I manage my breathing and I enjoy it. At the same time, I can drop the kids off at school. They do a thing called park and stride, right? And the kids love it. So we park up the road, further up the road, and we walk down to school. And I drop the kids off, and then I run back up to the car. Just I enjoy it. I run back up to the car, but I get puffed. I get out of breath, and I'm not running any faster than I do on a 10K run, and I'm
Mhm.
not definitely not running any further. But because my mind is set up differently, I handle it differently. And
Yeah,
the 10K run, I've got a long distance mindset in mind, and so I handle
yeah,
that accordingly. With running to the car, I just run to the car, and I get out of breath, and it's really interesting
yeah.
to me.
I think it comes up in every aspect of our lives, right? So I've signed up with a PT instructor who's absolutely amazing, Dave Hurley. And because obviously with Parkinson's, one of the things that I'm fighting is to keep my body mobile and moving. And so I've been looking for an online sort of PT instructor that could help me.
Mm,
And he works with resistance bands. And it's been an amazing experience. But on my first or second session with him, he said, we'll get you to a point where you can do 100 squats
Yeah.
and you'll do them easily.
Mm.
And I thought, you're on. And so I eventually got to a point where I could do 100 squats,
Yeah.
pulling the band and doing other exercises. And then one day he kept going to 125, whatever. And I said, let's go to 150, then 175. Then this, in the last week or two, I did 200 squats.
Mm.
And I just listening to you talking about that marathon mindset, I could feel myself locking in to 200.
Yeah.
And not, I picked a mark on the wall, and I focused on the mark, and I focused on doing the squats one at a time,
Yeah.
and getting them under my belt.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of marathon mindset where I'm saying, I'm in the now, and I'm going to overcome this squat now, and then I'm going to overcome the next squat now, and I'm going to overcome squats until I've done the 200, or I'm going to overcome each footfall of the marathon until I've done the full marathon. And I think that's the difference, in the sense that I've got to make the sense. I've got to run the marathon.
Yeah.
I've got to do what I've got to do. But so must everyone else in my organization, because sense making is a community affair.
And I need to help them to do that.
I need to help them to do that. And we need help to do that. And yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful, as we've experienced, when we can get it to work.
And I think so. Bringing this together, then, what are the collective voices that I am allowing to direct my organization? Are they taking me closer to my reason for starting, or further away from my reason for starting? And in that example that I gave with the marketing, it's those wider collective voices and assumptions that are actually leading your business, right? Because marketing is integral to the lifeblood. It's the lifeblood of business. If people don't know you're there, they can't buy your stuff. And so am I marketing intentionally, or am I letting the voices of the masses and their assumptions, am I letting them lead my business? Is it,
or even the voice of one, Brad, even the voice of one. I think about it like this, you could be, let's go back to our conductor again. And he's trying to play Beethoven's symphony, right? Number 5 or whatever it is. And in his mind, he's got this amazing symphony, and you can see the orchestra, and he's doing his conducting stuff. But he's got some rampant individual in his orchestra who's intent on playing Scott Joplin, right? Ragtime.
Let's put them on the cymbals. A clanging cymbal feels good.
Yeah, and they're going to play that jolly ragtime, no matter what it's like, it's like me sitting down at the piano and playing honky tonk.
Yeah,
It's like it just detracts from everything, and then trying to, and what we try and do is we try and adjust the orchestra to fit Beethoven into Scott Joplin.
Yes,
Instead of bringing order and based on the overall vision that we've got, and then allowing the team, the orchestra, to play their pieces, play their part in the piece of music that we're playing.
Although I think that's
and get the
best
guy who's
case.
got Scott Joplin in his head to just quieten down.
But I think that's even that scenario that you've just described there is best case, right? Trying to shoehorn everything into that song that this other individual's trying to play. Worst case is that the other song gets louder and louder, and you end up with your organization going in two different directions, neither of which are the ones that you actually want or need to get to your reason for starting.
Imagine playing Beethoven in the style of Scott Joplin.
Good grief. And so I think, I want to personally, from me here, and then I'll let you wrap this up. I want to encourage people, because I am proof that sense making can be learned, right? Yes. I'm proof of that. I've done that. I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but I've done that. And so if you're listening to this, and the scenarios that we've talked about, and the feelings and sensations that we've kind of gone over, if that resonates with you, if that hits a nerve with you, you can become the sense maker in your organization, and you can start steering that ship in the direction that it needs to go for you to get to your reason for starting. You need to find yourself a sense maker, somebody that will not force a framework on you, not force a method on you, but run 50 paces with you, next to you, walk 50 paces with you, and show you how to do the new way.
Yeah. Demonstrate how to do the new way, and to bear in mind that there's no one best map. There's no one best map that details a route through the minefield of unclears that are blocking my path through a particular situation. And the question is, there are many paths going through this minefield of unclears. How do I know which is the right one?
Yeah.
And the way that I do that takes us right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Where it says, I engage with 3 threads. Number 1, I develop a growth mindset, which is going to allow me to allow people to talk into my life. Number 2, I develop my capacity to absorb new knowledge wherever I can find it.
Yeah.
And to put that knowledge to work and to try it out in community with others. And the 3, that I learn to formulate better questions.
Yeah.
And again, all of that happens in community. It happens with you and I struggling with ideas. I remember us coming home from work together, struggling with ideas, wrestling with ways of thinking and doing and so on.
Yeah.
But it came about because there were 2 of us, and we moved into the power of exponential. And so from my point of view, I want to encourage people that with the ideas Brad has said, that sense making can be learned. It can be learned. But it's not an easy journey. It's a constant battle with yourself, because yourself wants to dominate. Your selfish self wants to be right, wants to be the kingpin, wants to be seen as the reason for the success.
Yeah.
Right. Where actually it works in a completely different way. It's community. SenseMaker is where it is today because of Brad and me coming together and contributing to each other to make each other better for what we have. And it's interesting because people say to me, it's amazing that you work with your son. Well, yeah, it is amazing that I work with my son, and it's amazing that he's been part of this journey since before he left school. And that's the truth of it. But that's the depth and the strength of the relationship between us. And so I can't kind of emphasize enough the need for a relationship, trusting relationships, so that when we're working, we can trust the people to whom we're delegating, and know that they're going to play the symphony that we want them to play in the way and the timing that we want them to play it, but that they're going to bring their unique contribution to that symphony, that expression. And so, yeah, that's, for me, sense making is the most exciting thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen from in front with someone shouting at you saying this is the way you walk in it. It doesn't happen from behind with someone standing on the side of the field shouting instructions, telling you what to do.
Yeah.
It happens from alongside, the parakletos, the shared energy, the shared insight, and the shared learning that comes.
Yes. And all of that comes back to this. And I'll say, if you feel like you're struggling with an unclear today in your life or business, put the SenseMaker method alongside you, literally on your pad with your pen, and write down identify and try and articulate the unclear that you're struggling with.
Yeah.
Clarify what might be really going on here. How can we unpack this, these issues that I've found? Learn, what can I learn from this? What can I put into practice? And how can I observe that practicing of that new idea for learnings? And then apply, okay, this seems to be working. Let me put this into practice now and run the system on this. So identify, clarify, learn, apply, the SenseMaker method.
Yeah, it's profound. We live by it. It's changed our lives.
So with that, thank you very much to everybody that's listened to and fed back and contributed to our first season of That Makes Sense, a podcast from SenseMaker. We've loved having you along with us on this journey. We've learned a lot. Hopefully you've learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you in season 2.
And there endeth the lesson. If you found this episode helpful, why not complete the free assessment on our website at sensemaker.co.uk to uncover your unclears.
SenseMaker, your bridge between where you're stuck and your reason for starting.